Picture this. You're sitting alone in a parking lot when suddenly an alarm goes off on your phone. You look down to see what it is, and you read that it's an Amber Alert for a stolen vehicle in your city. But you don't think much of it at first, until a couple minutes later, you see the exact car they're looking for sitting right there. What would you do in this situation? Because that's exactly what happened to me one time. And I've made a video about this before, but I never told the full story on what actually happened. Because I went from thinking I was gonna be a hero to getting in trouble with the cops. So let's rewind and explain how all of this happened. You know that super anxious feeling you get right when your phone buzzes off with an Amber Alert? It's always the most terrifying sound ever. It's like waking up to your alarm clock. So one day, when I was sitting in a Walmart parking lot eating my Taco Bell and my phone started buzzing aggressively, that's when I saw an Amber Alert for a stolen orange Honda in the city I was in. It also said that the suspect was considered dangerous. What was my first reaction after reading that? Nothing. I just went back to doom scrolling and eating my Taco Bell because I understood that when you get an Amber Alert, you're supposed to be on the lookout for the person or the vehicle that it's describing. But realistically, what are we gonna do? This?
Come on! We got 30!
Like, no, I ain't doing that. I'm not Batman. Last time I tried solving a crime, I was at a gas station and I accused a girl of stealing a Snickers bar because I saw something hiding in her pocket. But it turns out it was just an EpiPen. Also, the Amber Alert said that the suspect was considered dangerous. And the only time I've ever gotten a fight, it ended like this. So I wasn't trying to do that either. So I just go back to whatever I was doing on my phone, not thinking much more about it. The alert disappears from my screen and I'm already moving on with my day. The city this was happening in was pretty big, so although it was kind of crazy that it was in the same city as me, I thought there were no chances I would figure this out. Like it could be on the other side of town or something. So I'm back to scrolling through whatever app I was using, probably the Olive Garden one, when out of nowhere, in the corner of my eye, I see something. And it was something bright. You know that feeling when something just seems off or different in your surroundings? It's like your brain picks up on details before you even consciously notice them. I wasn't actively looking for anything, but something made me glance up from my phone screen. And there it is. An orange Honda parked maybe 50 feet away from me. My brain connects the dots, and immediately this was my response. My heart starts pounding quickly because what are the odds of this actually happening? Like, have any of you ever actually been in the place where an Amber Alert was happening? Comment down below if you have or haven't actually. I'm very curious. But I wasn't even sure Amber Alerts were real before this. Because Amber Alerts just felt like one of those stories you hear about people winning the lottery. Not that being involved in an Amber Alert is good, like winning the lottery. I think it's pretty bad actually. But what I mean is it's like the lottery because you hear about people winning it, but you never actually witness anything for yourself. So I'm looking at this card trying to figure out if this is actually happening or if I'm just overthinking the whole situation. Maybe it's just some sort of random coincidence. But then I realized, I don't think I've ever seen an orange Honda in my whole life before this. So surely it had to be the same car. Have you ever been in a situation where you know you should do something, but you're just too terrified to do it? That's exactly where I found myself staring at this orange Honda. Because now that I was confident it was the same vehicle from the alert, I knew the next thing a good civilian should try to do is help. And I was tempted to do that, but then I remembered one specific detail. Suspect is considered dangerous. Those exact words kept replaying in my head. And remember, I'm not Batman. I don't solve crimes. I make videos saying I'll oil up if the content gets a certain amount of likes. So you think I could handle this? And by the way, what does dangerous even mean? The person who stole the vehicle might have a weapon? Are they just violent in general? Do they bite? Because honestly, if that's the case, I might be considered a person who's dangerous too. So what do I do? Well, in my head, I had a couple options. A, call the police, or B, leave and pretend none of this ever happened. That would certainly be the easier solution. And at first, that's what I went with. I decided to just leave the car alone and mind my own business, thinking that someone else would notice it and they would report it. But there was just something in the back of my brain that wouldn't let me follow through with this. I felt too guilty just leaving the car there without alerting anyone about it. My hands are literally shaking as I pull up the alert to double check the details, and I'm reading through it line by line this time instead of just glancing at it. Orange Honda, check. The general area matches where I'm at right now, check. The description was pretty basic, but everything lined up. There's no way this is just a random coincidence. This had to be it. I'm thinking about all these true crime shows I've watched where regular people just stumble into crazy situations and they end up being the hero. Maybe this is one of those moments. Maybe I'm about to be the person who makes a difference. So I'm starting to think I could be a hero. I could be on the news for doing this good deed. They might even make a statue after me. That might be a little far-fetched, but there's nothing wrong with some delusion. My heart is pounding, probably partly from all the energy drinks I was having, and I keep looking around the parking lot to see if anyone approaches that car. Every person walking by it makes me nervous. Because although I located the vehicle, there was one question I had with no answers. Where was the person who stole it? I could see through the whole car. There was definitely no one inside it. So after a little more back back and forth with myself, I decide the right thing to do is call the police. So I dial 911 for the first time ever, by the way, which is terrifying. And when they answer, I just start stuttering. Not gonna lie. Based off the girl's voice on the other side, she sounded kind of bad, so I was nervous. But I try to explain the situation without sounding crazy. I tell her about the Amber Alert, about the orange Honda, and about where I'm at. She asks me a bunch of questions and tells me that they're sending officers right now. She tells me to stay back and just observe the car from a distance. The one thing she made sure to say is do not approach the vehicle. Don't confront anyone, just keep an eye on things until the police arrive. That sounds reasonable enough. How hard could it be to just wait in my car until they get here? Well, apparently a little too hard for me after what would happen just a few minutes later. It turns out waiting and watching a potentially stolen vehicle is way harder than it looks in the movies. Because you know how in cop shows, they make surveillance look all cool and fun? They're just sitting there with a meal waiting for something to happen. Pretty much sounds like a mukbang with your homie, right? Well, that's not what this was. Because I'm sitting in my car trying to act casual while my eyes are glued to this orange Honda, and I probably looked like the most obvious person ever. Like, I'm pretty sure anyone watching me would think I'm the guy that Amber Alert is talking about. And I'm trying to position myself so I can see the car too clearly without being obvious about it. Every person who walks by it makes me think they could be a potential suspect. Suddenly, I see a guy in a hoodie start to walk across the parking lot, and I'm thinking that's definitely the one. What if he's armed? What if he sees me watching him? But then, that guy got in his own car and drove away. So he wasn't the one. I realized I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't help it. Anytime someone walked by that car, I thought they might be the person I was looking for. Part of me was genuinely excited that I might solve a real crime. Like, how cool would it be to say you literally solved an Amber Alert? I even looked up if there was a reward for solving one. Newsflash, there's not. But the other part of me was terrified about what happens if I actually see someone get inside that vehicle. Because the alert said dangerous, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do if that person gets to the car before the cops arrive. I'm not trained for this type of situation. I don't know how to handle confrontations with potentially dangerous people. I don't even like confronting the McDonald's employees when they get my meal wrong. So you think I could confront someone who stole a car? I'm checking my phone every 30 seconds, wondering where the cops are. I keep looking around for them, but the parking lot stays empty, except for me, a couple other cars, and this orange Honda. But after about 5 minutes of this torture, I see another potential suspect walk towards that orange car. I sit up straight in my seat, ready to see this dangerous criminal that I've been so worried about, but when I actually get a good look at who's approaching the car, I'm completely caught off guard. It's not some 6'5", terrifying looking guy, or someone that just looked desperate for money. It's a regular young woman, probably mid-20s, with her keys out, walking casually right to that orange Honda. So now my whole world just got flipped upside down. In my head, I created an exact description of what I thought this person would look like, and she looked nothing like that, which it's probably bad to just assume what people look like, but I'm sorry, I apologize. But her car matches the Amber Alert perfectly, and like I said, I've never seen another orange Honda in my life, so I knew she was the one. Maybe she was just a pro at stealing vehicles, and looking nonchalant made her get away with it. So as she's getting in her car, I'm panicking because the cops aren't here yet. But if this lady drives away before they arrive, they may never catch her. The car will probably be on a boat to Cuba by this time tomorrow. So this may have been the only chance to fix the situation. So what did I do? Well, in a moment of confidence, where apparently I thought I was Batman, I get out of my car and start walking over toward her. I had no idea what I was gonna say, but I knew that it was now or never. How do you even approach someone about this type of thing? Hey, excuse me, did you steal that car? That sounds insane. But I'm committed now because I'm already halfway across the parking lot. And she's about to close her door when I walk up right next to her and get her attention. She turns and looks at me with this confused expression on her face, like she's wondering why some random stranger is approaching her car. I get about 5 feet away from her before she goes, "Can I help you?" So then I say, "Yeah, I have a question. Is that car yours?" She looks at me like I said something I shouldn't have, and then she responds by saying, "Yes. Obviously it's my car. Why would you even ask that?" And that's right when I tell her something that I probably should have worded differently. I said, "Really? Because I don't think it is." Right when I said this, she looked incredibly insulted. So she goes, "How dare you even say something like that?" Then she slams her door hard, turns on the engine, and I can see her shaking her head through the window. She's clearly done with this conversation and wants to get away from me. So without saying another word, she drives away. Where was she going? I had no idea. But now, I had a decision to make. Because I couldn't just let this car thief get away. And if she left this parking lot, who knows if anyone would have found her. So I did the only thing that made sense in my brain during this moment. I got in my car and followed her. Just like that, I'm suddenly following this girl in a car chase, which felt very weird because I never thought I would be the one chasing someone in this situation. I always thought I would be the one getting hunted down by the cops for robbing a crumble cookie or something. But here we are. She's already making a left turn out of this parking lot, and I'm trying to catch up as fast as possible. It felt like the most ridiculous situation I've ever been in because I had no idea what I was doing. It was like I wasn't even the one controlling my body at this point. As I'm following her in my car, I can see her look in her rearview mirror every few seconds, and she just looks disgusted by me. So I'm making every turn she makes, trying to keep up without breaking any laws like speeding or running a red light. But eventually, she turns into a residential neighborhood where there's barely any traffic. So when I turn in there too, she obviously knows that I'm not going to stop following her. Every time she turns, I turn. Every time she slows down, I slow down. I'm second guessing everything, but I can't stop now because what am I supposed to do? Just let her drive away with this stolen car? I'm in too deep for that now. The police are probably already looking for her. I called them and told them exactly where she was, but now she wasn't there anymore. So if I lose her now, they may never find this car. I'm trying to stay close to her. And by the way, a car chase is a lot harder in real life than it looks in the Fast and Furious. There's no dramatic music or cool camera angles. How do you make it look so easy, The Rock? After about 5 minutes of this ridiculous chase scene I was doing, she pulls in to another parking lot. It's one of those strip malls with a couple grocery stores and other random shops. So I follow her in and park a few spaces away. Not really sure what my plan is. Do I wait for her to get out? Do I call the police again and tell her new location? I mean, I did want to hear that operator's voice again, so maybe I should do that. Do I approach her car again? But before I can figure out what to do next, she gets out of her car and starts furiously walking towards mine. The moment I saw her walking towards me, I had a feeling I was about to figure out why the Amber Alert said, "Suspect is considered dangerous." So she marches right up next to my car window, knocks on the glass, and she immediately asks me what my problem is and why I'm following her around town. She sounded angry, to say the least. I tell her again that I know she's driving a stolen car, and I pull my phone out to show her the alert. I'm holding up my screen toward her face, telling her I know she's guilty, and she can't use her manipulation tactics on me to convince me otherwise. She finally decides to look at the Amber Alert for herself instead of just dismissing me as a crazy person. Up until now, she was too annoyed with me to even listen to anything I was saying, which fair. But when she stops and actually reads through what I showed her, I can see her face as she reads through the alert getting more and more confused. The anger starts fading from her face, and now she just looks confused. She's reading the description carefully, and I can tell she's finally starting to realize why I followed her. Orange Honda in this area, stolen vehicle, suspect is considered dangerous. When you put it all together like that, she's clearly guilty. So I'm thinking she's finally gonna admit that I just caught her red-handed. I'm about ready to hit record and get a live confession on air. But then, after looking at my phone, she pulls out her own phone and starts typing quickly. I had no idea what she was doing yet, but she looked focused. I'm just sitting there watching her do this, trying to figure out what her angle was. Maybe she's trying to call Lester to get the cops off her back. I don't know. But after a few seconds of doing whatever she was doing, she starts laughing. And not like a nervous or an uncomfortable laugh, but genuine laughter like something was funny. And I know my haircut may look stupid, but I don't think she was laughing at that. So now I'm thinking, this lady must be crazy, because she's just laughing in evil situations like the Joker does. So I ask her what's so funny, because in my eyes, there is nothing amusing about stealing a vehicle. But she's still laughing and shaking her head while she's looking at her phone screen. Then she turns it towards me and tells me to read what's on her phone. I'm expecting to see some kind of proof that she's guilty, but instead she's pointing to a specific detail on the Amber Alert that wasn't on the original notification I got. She shows me the license plate listed in the Amber Alert. Then she points to her license plate. And what do you know? They were completely different numbers. Like, not even close. So what did that mean? I had the wrong person. This wasn't the dangerous suspect that stole an orange Honda. This was just another lady that somehow happened to have the exact same car. But what are the odds? How many orange Hondas have you ever seen before? I'll answer that for you. 0. So now, I feel horrible and tell her about how sorry I was for this situation because I just followed her around like a madman. And luckily, she's laughing about it saying, "Oh, it's okay, I get it." But just when I thought the situation couldn't get worse, I remembered something that would make it 10 times more bad. What did I remember? I called the police and told them that the stolen vehicle was in another parking lot about 20 minutes ago. The parking lot we're not at anymore. And the police said they were on their way to that location. So what would happen if the cops pulled up to that parking lot I told them to go to and no one was there? Probably not something good. I tell her about how I called the police and she immediately stops smiling. Her face goes from amused to panicked in about 2 seconds. She's asking me what I told them exactly and when I called them. I'm trying to remember exactly what I said to the dispatcher, but her voice made her sound so pretty that I couldn't even remember. So she starts panicking and asking what we should do. But I had no idea. Do we call the police back and explain the mistake? Can you even do that? I don't think I can just call the police back like a missed call from my mom. So we're both freaking out trying to figure out the best way to handle this situation. She's worried the police think that she's involved somehow because she has an orange Honda. I'm worried they're gonna think I called them as a prank and I'll get in trouble too. So we decide the best plan is to drive back to that original parking lot and wait for the cops to get there. That way, we can explain everything in person and clear up all the confusion. So both of us are racing around town, but now she's following me. I keep checking my mirrors to make sure she's still behind me. And we're both driving probably a little faster than we should, but we're just trying to get there before the cops do. I'm hoping we can beat them there and figure out how to explain this whole ridiculous situation. But when we pull back into the original parking lot, there's already 3 cop cars waiting there. I guess when you call the police saying you solved an Amber Alert, they don't take that lightly. They respond pretty quickly. And the second those cops see an orange Honda pull into the parking lot, they immediately tell her to get out of the car and get on the ground. Just like I thought, they obviously assume that's the stolen vehicle. So she puts her hands up, getting out of the car and putting her knees down on the pavement, while I jump out of my car and tell the cops that that's the wrong person. I'm telling them I'm the one who made the call about the stolen car. But after a little more research, I realized that's not the right one. The cops don't care though. They tell me to put my hands up just like her.
Sir, license and registration, please.
Yeah, sure, hold on.
Whenever you're ready.
Actually, I gotta leave. I have so many bottles of baby oil in my lap.
I'm sorry.
So I do. But then I tell them to check the license plate and compare it with the Amber Alert. One of the officers walks over to her car and compares her license plate number with the information that they had. After a few seconds, he tells his partner it's not the right car. Once they do a little background check on that license plate number, they let her stand up. And after a few minutes of questioning, they let both of us go. Finally, the situation was resolved. Well, not really, because there was still a stolen orange Honda on the loose. But I sure wasn't gonna try to find it anymore. Am I right? Am I right?